So happy to be here with you this morning. Well, if this is your first time coming to one of my lives, I am Dr. Pamela Brown Grinion, and this is my live podcast recording for the Grace and Grind podcast. So, welcome, welcome, welcome in. Where are you from? I'm from Rochester, New York. I'm in upstate New York. So this is a live recording for my podcast, the Grace and Grind podcast. And what I do is I help people to transform their lives. That's pretty much what I do. It doesn't matter if you are a mom or a C-suite executive. I help people to understand their symptoms from their emotional symptoms from their traumatic experiences, and I help people to change their behavioral responses. You're from Nigeria. Well, welcome, Nigeria. I'm so glad you're on. I'm so glad. Stay put because we're going to have some good stuff. So, what I do basically is I've combined my trauma informed coaching, my etiquette training, and my leadership development coaching and training under one umbrella, and I call it emotional etiquette. And so here we have conversations about all of those things. And I'm getting a lot of response. Hey, Trina Pink, thank you for coming back, darling. I get a lot of responses from people saying that, this is really, really helping me. And that just blesses my soul. But first, let me tell you guys now, although I'm a trauma informed practitioner and I talk about traumatic experiences and the symptoms, this podcast is for education, inspiration, motivation, training, and coaching only. Okay. I am a trauma informed coach, practitioner, and trainer. I am not a licensed mental health professional. So if you feel like that's what you need, you can get that too, or, okay. And, right. So you can get in where you fit. Okay. So you guys ready to jump right in because we are talking about after you vanquish the ghost in your nursery. Now, do I need to explain to our newbies? Hey, Dita. Okay. And I had professional counseling. So I had counseling, coaching, and calendar, the things that I told you guys to do. I did that. All right. So I'm a byproduct of my own work. So let's recap quickly on the first. I think we did the first 5 already, and then I'll jump into 6. So the first thing that you do or that you should see after you vanquish the ghost in the nursery, after you've vanquished, okay, you may not have vanquished them all, but you've done some great work in last week. You've done some great work. So after you've vanquished the ghost in the nursery, it's time to reclaim your emotional space. Okay. You have removed some elements out of you that you no longer need, that no longer serves you. It's not doing anything good for you. We have removed those negative emotions, right? Now we have to add in something new. So when the ghost is no longer directing your emotions, you can finally reclaim your freedom to think and feel and to do and to make good choices, not choices based on your emotions, choices that are based on truth. And remember, the truth is what's happening right now in this moment, not what happened to you in the past, what's going on right now. And the example that I use for that is I shared a memory with you guys that I had about something traumatic that happened to me in the military 40 years ago. And I had to give pause and make space for it so that I could heal, so that I can go take myself through all of the things that I'm telling you, right? And I was in a pickup truck with a drill sergeant. You guys know the rest of the story. And because the younger Pam, the unhealed Pam, that little part of her that is still in there, is familiar with trauma, and her trauma response is resorting to the rabbit hole, withdrawing, right? That's her response. When that memory came back to me, like fully, when it came back to me, the little girl in me, that small part of her that still resides, she's powerful. And she tried to pull me back into that familiar space because That was my comfort zone. That was my coping mechanism. That was my space of safety, right? But the adult Pam said, no, no, no. I know that I have the power to control how this memory of this experience shows up in my life, how much power I give it, how I respond to it, and how it impacts me. So I chose how much power I gave it, how I responded to it, how it impacts me, and how it showed up. I controlled that because I have the power to. And I gave myself almost 2 weeks to deal with it. And then I said, okay, enough is enough. And then I was fine after that. And it literally no longer haunts me. But I had to take control over the situation. I could not just let it just kind of move in my emotions and recreate that negative emotional loop that I used to live on as a little girl. I have already interrupted that loop. So I'm not going back there. Okay. I'm not going back there. So that's not a way that the enemy can penetrate and get me, because I'm good with that. I'm just, that's not from something that we're not doing that anymore. Healed from that, right? So I gave you guys some questions and I ask you to ask yourself, what does emotional peace look like for me now? Hey Mars, good morning, cousin. What does it look for me now? What does it look like for me now? Okay. And then number 2, the next thing that we should be doing is rebuilding our identities, right? When the ghost voice is silenced, your authentic identity begins to rise up in you, stronger, clearer, and align with who you are truly becoming now, today. It's no longer based on what happened in the past. Okay. It's based on your truth of today. So you're rebuilding your identity, not from what you went through. You're building your identity on where you are now. Okay. Where you are now in life. It's no longer the mask. It's not the mask anymore. We've put away the mask. Okay. It's now based on, where am I now? Am I living based on my wounds, or am I living based on the new wisdom that I found when I vanquished the ghost in the nursery about my truths, about my situation? Okay. Number 3, we should be reconstructing our emotional patterns. And I explained to you that we should be responding and not reacting. How do you respond? You have to be self-aware in order to respond. And we talked about self-awareness for a lot. Let's see. Would you say that first question again? I had to run for a notebook. Listen, you have got to bring your journals when you come in here with me. Okay. Because yeah, I give a lot of questions. So in number 1, reclaim your emotional space. I only gave you the one question. What does emotional peace look like for me now? But there were other questions. If you go on my Facebook page, you can watch them all fully and you can capture all the questions. This is just a quick recap. And number 2, where we were talking about rebuilding your identity. And one of the questions is, who am I without my survival patterns? Who am I without my old survival patterns? Okay. So number 2, when the ghost in the nursery, when it's silenced, when the ghost voice is silenced, your authentic identity begins to rise up, and it gets stronger, it gets clearer, and it is aligned with who you truly are. Okay. And the question with that is, who am I without the survival patterns? Number 3, we should be reconstructing our emotional patterns to learn to respond rather than reacting. Okay. Learn to respond rather than reacting. Now let's talk about reactive first. Reactive is when you don't stop to think. You just, right? You go 10. You don't process what you're feeling. Example, when my best friend told me, Pam, you don't, I prayed about this. And I know she loves me and I know she's only going to tell me the truth. And she said, you're afraid to commit to yourself, because I was supposed to be on here with you guys since 2020. I heard this in 2019. That's 5 years of disobedience and on a different track and wondering why it's not working. Okay. Wondering why it's not working. All right. Hey, Manny, thank you for joining. Okay. Now, reactive is when you're explosive. 0 to 10, like that. Responding is when you understand that you can't always give a response. You can't always answer in the moment. You have to feel what your body is sensing. That is the self-awareness. What is your body sensing? Okay. What are you feeling? Is it something that's raising up in you? Are you feeling anger? Are you feeling fear? Are you feeling anxious? What are you feeling? When my girlfriend said that to me, I knew it was the truth, but I didn't like her saying it to me. But when I really processed it, and I said, is this somebody that loves me and knows me? Yes and yes. Is this the truth? Right now in my now, is this the truth? Yes. So the next day I got on live because that's what I wasn't committing to. So now the next day I got on live, which was uh Thanksgiving Eve, the 26th, and I've been on live every day since, except Saturday and Sunday. The first week I did Saturday and Sunday because I just needed to do a week. I needed to prove to myself that I can do 7 days. You're welcome, Claire. And then after that, it's Monday through Friday, right? Responding, taking the time to, not based on your feelings, not based on how it's making you feel, okay? It's based on what is sound, what is reasonable, what is wise, what is truth. And then you make a decision. It's not just, and sometimes understand you may have to come back. You know, I don't have the capacity to answer that question right now, or it's not a good time for me to answer that question right now, or can we take a pause and come back to that? Can I come back to you with that? To give yourself time to settle so you're not reactive. Okay. When you're being reactive, it's because you're sensing something that is familiar. The little girl or little boy, that unhealed little person in you, is sensing something that causes them to feel what they're feeling. Okay. And it connects with what was familiar in the past, even though that's no longer happening. But because you haven't resolved it and you haven't learned how to change your behavioral responses to the emotional symptoms of the traumatic experience, we become explosive and responsive instead of taking our time to settle, think, pause, right? Give space, all of those good things. All right. One of the questions I asked you to ask yourself is, what emotional habits no longer serve me? What emotional habits no longer serve me? All right, recap. Number 4, align your behaviors with your becoming, your new becoming, because we're shedding stuff, right? We're shedding stuff and we're living in our now, in the now, in our truth now, right now. Okay? We're living in our truth right now. So align your behaviors with your who you are becoming, not who you were in the past. Okay? Very important to understand the difference in that. It's who you are becoming in this transformation that we're going on as a collective. We're on this journey together. Now, when you are aligning your behaviors with your new becoming, you have to identify that it isn't just who you say you are, it's who you show up as. Right? So you can't send your representative out front to show up for you and think that that's authentic and true. It's not. Okay, it's not. So it's who you show up as. All right? When your behaviors begin to reflect your healed self, your future starts to materialize in real time. That ties right into what we were talking about today in the devotion. Okay. When your behaviors begin to reflect your healed self, not the old self. Because remember, the old self is trauma bound. The old self, you can't feel, you can't think, you can't listen, you can't hear from God, you can't pray, you can't get into your meditative state, you can't sit still, you can't be quiet, you can't sleep. Just we're moving away from that. Okay, we are moving away from that because we're changing our behavioral responses to the emotional symptoms of the traumatic experiences. You guys with me? Let me know you're with me. All right. And one of the questions that I ask you is, where in my life am I still acting from my old identity rather than my healed one? Where am I acting from my old identity rather than my healed one? And number 5 is create a new legacy. Without the ghost dictating your future now, you become the architect of a new emotional lineage. And I was talking to you about, now that we've traced our traumatic genealogy and our emotional genealogy, we know where it came from. And some of it didn't come from us. Some of it came from your parents and your grandparents and other people. And all of it didn't come from what you went through. Some of it is because other people said things or put things on you that wasn't yours to carry. Okay. Now, you can become the architect of your new emotional lineage. And with that, your new self concept is the story that you can tell yourself now. Your new self concept. It's not based on the past. It's not based on what was. It's based on right now. Okay, co-host. 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 Let's come here. Come here. Come here. Come on. Come on. Ooh. The co-host is, you want to say hi to the people, co-host? Say hi to the people. Say hi to the people, co-host. Say hi. This is Layla, guys. This is Layla. Yeah, she has on a jean dress with a little peplum skirt. Yes, she does. Because she's my dog. Okay, this is my doggy, and you know my doggy is going to be cute. All right. All right, calm down. All right, so number 4, we've done. Number 5, you create a new legacy. Without the ghost dictating your future, you now become the architect of a new emotional lineage. All right. Your new self concept is the story you can tell yourself now about who you are now, not about who you were in the past. Okay. Who you are now. Hey guys, I'm taking my time with I know the people that are on here every day is like, come on, get to it already. But we got a lot of new people on here today, so I'm just trying to catch them up. But you guys, you really do have to go back on Facebook and watch them. Okay. All right. So number 6, you build a life that honors your healing. You build a life that honors your healing. Who builds the life? You build the life that honors your healing. You. All right. Your healed identity begins shaping your outer world. What is that saying? Your inner healed identity begins shaping your outer identity, your routines, your relationships, your environments, your conduct, which is what we're working on. We're working on changing our behavioral responses so that we show up properly, we show up authentically, and we show up as the best version of ourselves. We show up with intentionality. Okay, it's not by happenstance, and it's not because the unhealed little girl or little boy in us rose up and became reactive. We're disciplined. Okay. It's moving with discipline. Okay. Excuse me. Hey, Claire, I can't flirt with you while I'm on here. Okay. But hey, baby, I see you too. But I can't flirt. I'm trying to impart some wisdom into my people right now. Okay. But I appreciate you for being here. Please stay. All right. So you build a life that honors your healing. What does that look like? That means that you decide what your healing looks like and how you're going to portray it in your outer world. You guys always hear me say that because I'm an international etiquette coach, I can teach you how to polish the outside. No questions asked. I can teach you how to polish the outside. But if you don't polish the inside, the polish on the outside is not going to stick. It's not going to last because it's not authentic yet. And it's not authentic yet. It's not authentic yet because we haven't rubbed out some of those spots on the inside that causes our outer polish to dull. You guys understand what I know you understand what I'm saying. So this is why we're doing this kind of work, and this is why I'm walking you guys through this, because it's critical that you go inward first. Okay. Now, your routines. I'm going to tell y'all about me, not you guys. I'm going to tell you about me. When I was in my unhealed space, I was all over the place. I couldn't think clearly. I didn't have a routine that I could manage. Why? Because my emotions would always come and interrupt the routine, and it would throw the routine off. And if I came out of the rabbit hole for a little bit to try to work the routine, once my emotions showed up, I would end up back in the rabbit hole. I'm not productive in the rabbit hole. That's not a good space for me to be. Okay. Thank you. Somebody said I'm awesome. Who said that? I can't see. But thank you so much. I appreciate that. I appreciate that. What does that say? Glam. All right, glam. I love it. I love it. Thank you so much. That really touches my heart. You guys, I don't take this stuff lightly. I am um I'm here because I understand the value, I understand the importance, and I understand my gift. I understand my purpose. I understand my calling. And that's why I'm on this crusade to help as many people as I can to understand themselves so that they can change their behavioral responses to the trauma. That is why I do this, because I understand what it is that I was born to do, right? That's why I show up every day, because I want to make sure that you understand that your healed identity, your inner healing, shapes your outer behavior. And that's exactly what we're trying to do. We're trying to do things differently as adults. We can't do the things that we can't respond the ways that we used to respond when we were in our teen years and our early 20s. We can't do that, because that's not emotional maturity. Emotional maturity is understanding what your truth is right now, understanding that yes, it can impact me, but I get to choose how I respond and how I show up. And if you're still being explosive and responsive because you have those unhealed spaces, well, that's not emotional maturity. And that's why we're going inward to fix our inner identities, because we need to for our own sake, right? You'll be a much better spouse. You'll be a much better employee. You'll be a much better person for yourself. You'll be a much better parent. You'll be a much better you when you can go inward. And it takes courage. Understand, it takes courage to do this, right? You're not just going to show up in a healed space and change your behavior responses simply because, because you say, I'm just going to do it. No, you got to do the work, because it's not going to last. It's not going to last. Okay. So you release relationships, habits, and spaces that conflict with your healing. Again, boundaries. Some people, you guys have heard that saying that some people are in your life for a season and some people are in your life for a reason. And the season may not be a lifetime. It may not be a lifetime. You have to be okay with that. You have to be okay with that, especially if relationships causes you to connect with your negative emotions that you're trying to heal from. That's not to say you have to get rid of that person in your life forever, but while you're going through your healing process, it might be a good thing to do. It might be a good thing to do simply because it's going to trigger you. And right now, you got to get strong enough so that you can overpower your triggers emotionally, right? If you are in constant contact with people that trigger you, it's going to be difficult to do that. This is not the time to start challenging yourself to see if you can manage the trigger. Wait until you're stronger. You may have to set some boundaries, okay? You may have to release some people totally. I have released some people forever, ever, forever, ever, forever, ever, okay? I have released some people because it was the best thing to do for my peace. And at 59 years old, believe you me, I'm protecting my peace, okay? If something is conflicting with my inner healing or throwing me off course, I don't have the capacity to right now, because I need all of me for me right now. And that's not selfish. That is selfless self-care for you. Okay, it's not selfish. So don't beat yourself up thinking that if you are the go-to person for everybody in the family and now you can't be because you're trying to do what you need to do for you, that's not selfish. That is not selfish. Hey, Toy Toy, that's not selfish. Okay? Sometimes you have to withdraw inward and take care of you. Sometimes you have to take that pause and that break for you. And it is okay. And I know a lot of us, especially women and especially black women, we were brought up to hold the world on our shoulders. I'm telling you, you don't have to do that. You can take care of you so that you have the strength to carry the part of the world that is your responsibility to carry. Everything is not yours to carry. Okay? Everything is not yours to carry. You may feel like it is, but again, that's feeling. What is the truth? The truth is your kids are adults and they can carry their own stuff. You can't make up for what happened in the past. Can you rebuild? Yes, absolutely. Can you heal together? Yes, absolutely. But you should not be basing your actions on something that happened in the past because that's not the truth right now. And you doing all those things is not making them come around, or it's not making them be healed. It's still in them. You're just exhausting yourself with these activities and it's not really doing you or them any good. Okay? Everything is not yours to carry. Understand that, grasp that. All right? It is your responsibility to make sure that your relationships, habits, and spaces are not conflictual with your healing. That's your responsibility. All right? You create the routines that support your emotional and spiritual well being. Who creates those? You create those. You create those. So if the routine, like my routine is wake up in the morning, I get up around 6:37. I'm not a morning person, right? But because I'm on live at 8 and I'm doing this kind of work and I take it seriously, my window in the morning, my emotional window in the morning, my grounding window in the morning is longer. So when I get up in the morning, I don't pick up my phone and check the time. I can see the time right in front of me on my clock. I don't, because if I pick up my phone, I'm going to start scrolling. So my time in the morning, this is what my routine is that I have to create for me. I wake up in the morning, I lie there for a minute, and I just allow my body to just all the different parts to wake up because I'm 59. You aren't just jumping up out of the bed at 59. You're going to start feeling those little cracks and aches and ticks and things. You're going to feel those things at 59. Okay. So I give myself time to unthaw. I give my body time to unthaw. And I just kind of lie there and just relax. And while my body is unthawing and relaxing, I'm going inward. I'm going inward and I'm having a conversation with myself. Okay, Pam, what do you want to get done today? Well, I have to input that information into the portal for the daycare training that's coming up. I have to do that application for that infant mental health training. I'm grounding myself and I'm letting myself think about what it is that I need to do. What's on my to-do list? Right? What do I want to get accomplished? And then after my body unthaws, I stretch. I just stretch because I need to limber and loosen up. And I keep a bottle of water right next to me and I drink my water before I get out of bed. I drink a bottle of water. That's my routine. I wasn't always able to do that because I would not have a restful night's sleep because all of my traumatic stuff would be flooding my brain. And I would get up tired. And so I would lie in bed until the very last minute. And then I would jump up with not enough time to prepare myself to get ready. And then I'm all off kilter for the rest of the day. So I had to create a routine that supports my emotional and spiritual well being. I have my devotion, I have my prayer, right? When it's not like this, I'll take the co host for a walk. My routine. I have to pedal around and walk around because that's when I hear from God when I'm pedaling around. right? That's my routine. So you have to develop a routine that works for you and your morning for your day that supports your emotional well being. Notice I didn't say I'm lying in bed thinking about I didn't sleep, thinking about all the bad things that happened to me that I haven't healed from, all the I don't have the capacity for that because I'm trying to transform into my totally unique, authentic, best version of myself. And you can't get there dwelling on the past about things that aren't happening to you right now. That's not your truth today. Are you guys understanding what I'm saying? You guys aren't talking to me. I don't see no screen tapping. I'm thinking you guys just have the put the phone down and walked away and I'm just talking to dead air. What you guys doing over there? Claire said, I'm living that emergency life currently. What you're saying makes so much sense. Right. Right. You got to walk this thing out. Okay. And it takes a lot of self discipline to do this. A lot of self discipline. Why? Because this isn't your normal. You're learning how to do it and you're more familiar with your old way. Expect your old way to show up multiple times, but you have to be strong enough to put it to bed. Sometimes you're not going to be. Sometimes I'm not. And then I realize, oh, no, 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 no. Let me get back. Get back. Get yourself back on track, right? Because the familiar pattern would just interject itself, and then before you know it, you're off track. You got to be able to understand when you're off track and put yourself back on track sooner. Like every time, put yourself back on track and don't give up and don't quit and say, well, I've fallen off track, so I must not be able to do it. No, you can do it. Just jump back on. Okay. Good morning, Aunt Ruth. Just jump back on and get yourself back on track. Okay. Example. How many times, and this is a question for all of my people that profess salvation. Okay. How many times have you fallen off of salvation and come back? Same thing. You fall off track, but you know your salvation is important. So you come back to your salvation, right? The old way is so well known. Exactly. All the time, Miss Martinez said, all the time, right? How many times do you fall by the wayside with salvation and then you be like, oh my God, I've fallen off track. Let me get back on track. I've done it a gazillion times, right? But that doesn't mean that my salvation is gone. It just means that I moved away from it. But once I get myself back on track, because salvation is familiar to me, I'm able to get myself back on track, just like you. It's the same thing with your emotional self. When you feel yourself falling back by the wayside to your familiar behaviors and tendencies, you have to say to yourself, right, Kathy, 7 times, 7 times, 7 times, correct. You have to put yourself back on track. Don't give up and say, well, I must not. Don't do that to you because your inner healing is too important. You're too important. Okay. And your inner healing matters and your behavioral responses matter. All right. So you choose the environments that match your rising identity, who you are transforming into. For example, I'm 59. I don't club anymore. Okay. I used to club Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. All right. One night Oak Tree, one night Calabash, one night what's the one? You guys know. You guys Cross Keys, one night PIs, you know what I'm saying? Or it might be the one on North. You guys know what I'm saying. Every night it was a theme somewhere at a club. Who's it? Wiser now, I know you didn't say fams. But you're right. Now, I didn't have any business in FAMS, but I went in there. I went in there. Okay. I don't do that anymore. Why? Because who I am becoming, that doesn't support. Now, I'm not saying I'm too good for that. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying I'm not there anymore. Right? Now, will I go to a jazz lounge? Absolutely. Will I go to one of these spots if they're having a jazz night? I might. Right? Because I like jazz and that's an elevated type of crowd. And that's where I am now. So I am choosing the environments that rise with my elevated identity, right? Right? I've changed my people. The people that I hang out with are they meet where I am now. Okay? Now I still got my aces. Don't get me wrong. I still got my people, but I also have a group that are my sister docs because that's where I am right now. So it makes sense that I would have a sister doc circle, right? So you have to choose the environment. Choose. Remember, you have the power. Okay. Choose the environments that match the person that you are becoming, that you're transforming into. I've been focused on the mental work, and it's time for focus on physically changing my reality. There you go. There you go. Let me tell you something. This is the best thing that I did for myself in my entire life. Because when I was not healed, oh my God, I was just awful. And I didn't know how awful I was until I was healed. And I know you guys heard me say that before, but that is the truth. You guys don't know how bad off you are, and you won't know until that healing, till you hit that certain level of inner healing and you feel wide open. When you can physically feel the emotional, I mean physically feel that negative emotional stuff out of your soul. When you can I'm saying physically feel the emotional stuff is gone out of your soul. It's a beautiful thing. It is a beautiful thing. Right. Healing equals freedom. Think right, wiser now. That's exactly, you just summed it up. Healing equals freedom. It truly, truly does. And those aren't just words. Like, that is for real, for real. Your healing equals your freedom, your internal freedom. And your external freedom cannot show up confidently and authentically if you don't have inner freedom. You can wear a mask, you can put on the facade, you can fake the funk, you can fake it till you make it. All those things. But trust me, we see you. We see you. People see you, right? I did a great job at faking the funk and wearing the mask. But when I took the mask off and I got home, it wasn't pretty. It wasn't dressed up. Because you can't dress up the ugly on the inside. You can't. And I had to stop using the excuse that God is not through with me yet. He's not. But that can't be the excuse to stay stagnant. Can't be the excuse to stay stagnant. Okay, God isn't finished with any of us. But there's a part of the work that we have to do. Okay? There's a part of the work that we have to do. In our devotion today, it talked about faith, right? But faith without works is what? You got to do the work. You got to do the work intentionally. You got to go in there and face it. And because if you don't face it, you're going to keep telling yourself the lie. Because if it's not truth, it's the lie. You're going to keep living the lie out that this is happening right now. So that's why you have to go in and get it. All right, here we go. Questions. Mars, you ready for the questions? What in my life no longer aligns with my healing? What no longer aligns? Is it the way you do your rituals in the morning? Is it your routines? Is it your habits? Is it your beliefs? Is it your thoughts? What no longer aligns with your healing? Is it the company that you keep? Is it the places that you go? What no longer aligns with my healing? What no longer aligns? What no longer aligns with my, put that in the chat for me if you feel comfortable putting it in the chat. What in my life no longer aligns with my healing? Now, understand, guys, I don't expect you to answer the questions while we're on the live. That's your homework. When you're sitting and you're meditative and you're quiet and you're still, that's when I want you to do the questions. I don't want you to try to answer the questions while we're on the live because then your answers won't be authentic. Claire said, I thought it was my marriage. Your marriage, Claire, is that what you're saying? You thought it was my marriage, but I think it's more nuanced. Only you know that, but you have to go inward and ask the question. Be still, get quiet, and really get a true answer from yourself. And really, good morning, Dee. Really get an honest answer from yourself. And when you get the answers, guys, don't ignore the answers. Don't try to talk the answers down. Don't try to tell yourself, oh, no, that can't be. Yes, that's it. If your internal self, good morning, WD, if your internal self is telling you that this is what does not align with the healing. Okay, you're done. Let's go. Come on, out. Let's go. Let's go. The co-host is being put out of the studio. Pardon me. Come on, out. Goodbye. I don't want nobody saying, oh, you put Layla out. Yes, because she's not behaving like a good co-host, and so she has to go. So nobody start giving me, oh, Layla. Yes, the co-host has been put out of the studio. Okay, she is gone. Okay, Kathy said toxic people had to cut them off from my mental health. Absolutely. What in my life no longer aligns with my healing? I mean, you have to answer that for yourself. You have to answer that. Number 2, what daily rituals nurture my calm, my clarity, and my confidence? For me, that was key. And the reason why confidence is in there is because I needed to build my confidence. That's what I needed to do. So I just made the assumption that other people may need to build those too. Because what I notice, and in my years of coaching, what I notice is when people have the unhealed little girl and little boy, that little girl and little boy is not confident. And so the adult does not know how to show up confidently. I needed to build my confidence too. Okay. Yeah. When you have the unhealed little girl and little boy still residing in you, and no one fed confidence in them when they were younger, that hinders you from becoming a confident adult until you go back and reparent yourself and fix those wounds, right? You have to go back and reparent yourself and tell yourself all the things, like right now as an adult, you have to speak to that little girl and little boy in you that did not get what they needed when they were hurting. I believe in you. You're worthy. I love you. You're beautiful. You are more than enough, right? You are more than enough. You have to be able to reparent the little girl and little boy in you that didn't get that. And only you know what you needed. If you needed a hug, give yourself a hug. If you needed compliments, give yourself compliments. Whatever you felt like you missed, you have to give it to yourself now. I also hurt a lot of people because I was damaged. Oh, girl, where my list at? Where is my list? I understand that like you would not believe. Right. But you know what hurt me the most was knowing that I hurt my children. Because I was not healed. I couldn't parent the way that I should parent. That's my truth. I was aggressive. I was angry. I was mean sometimes. Because I wasn't even, it was just the way I was. And that, until my son did that and cowered, like he ducked when I raised my voice. That did something to me. And I changed. And I knew I had to change because I did not want my children growing up feeling about me the way I felt about my mother, because I knew the intensity of that. Me too. You understand. You understand. But now that we understand something else, that we have the power to control, we have the power to, that's right, Jesus, that's right. We have the power to control how our childhood experiences and traumatic things that happen show up in our lives today. We have the power to control how it impacts us, how much power we give it, how we respond to it. We don't have to be like that. But imagine if someone told us that when we were little girls and little boys, that I know you went through this, but I don't want you to fall into that rabbit hole because You feel like you got to be withdrawn because I haven't taught you how to manage your emotions. That's why I talk to my children about managing their emotions. Exactly. Now I encourage, uplift, and love others. That's where you have to do it from that space. But you can only do it when you're a healed person. That is why I come on here and I impart what I know. Because I know a lot of people want to be unstuck but don't know how to. Nobody wants to walk around trauma bound. Who wants to walk around feeling heavy with that load? Who wants to? But because you don't know how to get free from it, people just say, get over it. What? How? How do I get over it? That's why I come on here and I tell you how to get over it. Because I know how to get over it. And too many people told me, Pam, get over it. Stop talking about it. You're this age, you're that age, you're still dwelling on the past. Get over the past. You, how? And are you over your past while you're telling me to just be over my? Are you over yours? Right? So you can't just get over it. That's not real. That's not real. And if you don't know how to encourage somebody's heart with compassion and empathy, then just don't say anything at all. Because what that shows the person is you aren't over yours. Because if you were over yours, you would say, I want to help you get over yours. And let me tell you how I got over mine. All right. So don't listen to people that just tell you to get over it. My question to them is always this now. You know what? Are you over yours? And if not, let me help you. I can coach you through that for a small fee. Okay. Because this is my profession and this is what I do. And nobody does this better than me. I'm just saying, you will never find a better coach than me. Why? Because I'm not going to show up as I jumped out of the womb as Dr. Pam. Question number 3, where do I feel most emotionally supported and safe? And who do I feel most emotionally supported and safe with? So who and where do I feel most emotionally supported and safe? Who and where? Who are your people? I told you yesterday, you got to have a community. You got to have a tribe. You got to have a circle. You have to. I hear you, babes, because somebody said to me, I know how you feel. Yeah. Yeah. Vita, don't listen to that foolishness. Don't listen to anybody telling you to get over it. You have to do the work. You can get over it. Understand, guys, you may not have put what you're feeling inside of you. Most times we didn't. Most times it's at the hands of somebody else, right? I've shared a lot of my childhood experiences with you guys. Just because it's there and someone else put it there, it doesn't remove your responsibility to remove it. It's your responsibility to make sure you're healthy and whole and to be able to identify, I'm safe now. That's not happening to me. Who and where do you feel most emotionally supported and safe? Because you should have somewhere you can turn. You should be able to tell someone, I'm not good. I'm not okay. Who's your people? Who's your person? Who is your person that you can go to and say, I'm not okay right now? And it's better to identify that person before you need that person. And make sure that person knows that you're my person. You're my person. Okay? Identify that person. Now, here's your call to action. This is what I want you to practice for the rest of the week. Establish one healing ritual to practice daily. It has to be something that nurtures your inner peace. It could be prayer, meditation, journaling, sitting still, stretching, sitting with a cup of coffee, a cup of tea, watching the sunset and the sunrise, watching the snow come down. Whatever your thing is that settles your spirit, I want you to commit to doing that every day. I told you guys what my morning ritual is. It's what I do, right? And I need to start back writing in my journal. I'm usually an at night journal writer. When I journal at night. After I have my pillow talk with myself, I journal at night. I love journaling my journey. And check this out, because I journaled my journey, It's how I came up with this. Because I went back into my old journal, and when I went through my inner healing, and I just went through everything. And I was like, oh my God, I forgot all about this. I was sitting here trying to create programs and create programs and create, and I pulled my journal out. And I have a lot of journals. Down here on my bottom shelf, I have a lot of journals. I pulled my journal out and I saw my complete thing of what I did to get myself on track with my inner healing. So journaling your journey is important. And when you go back and read that stuff, sometimes you're like, I can't believe I wrote that. I can't believe I went through that. I can't believe I did that. Right? When you go back and read things from years ago, it'll tell you some things about yourself. It'll remind you of what you've gone through and how strong you really are. And that's where you can pull out some of those victories. Remember, I told you to have 3 victories that you can recall in the face of adversity when you're facing your giants. You got to have those 3 things that you can say that you did. I overcame this, I overcame that, I overcame that. And because I did that, I know I can do this. Right? When I go through and read my journal, it reaffirms for me that I'm quite resilient. I've learned to be quite resilient. And what I'm teaching you guys now is how to become resilient. But that can only come from dealing with what you haven't dealt with. Okay? You guys with me? All right. Let's get into number 7. You rise into conscious, intentional manhood and womanhood. The key word here being intentional. You rise into conscious. That means you're aware. That's your self-awareness. Intentional. So now imagine putting self-awareness and intentionality together. That's what this is. That's what you're rising into, because your self-awareness and your intentionality has married, and it's starting to produce a different inner child. That is so good right there. When your self-awareness and your intentionality marry, it creates a totally different inner child. It creates the healed inner child. The healed inner child is the one when you say go to bed, and they go to bed. The unhealed inner child, when you say to go to bed, it rebels and it shows up, more vigorously. But when you put self-awareness together, when you understand what makes you tick and what makes you talk, and when it's ticking and talking, and you can suppress it, self-awareness. Intentionality is doing it on purpose, doing all of these things that you're learning on purpose, so that you can hold on to the healing, so that your outer polish will hold. Okay? So that you're, correct. Isn't that good, girl? Isn't that good? Right? So that your outer polish can stick. It makes no sense to come to me and say, Pam, I want to go through your, well, first of all, it's not going to happen, because anybody that comes to me for etiquette classes know that we're doing the inner work and the outer work at the same time. You're going to have to finish and touch, right? We're going to do all that cutesy ootsy stuff, right? I'm going to get you all glammed up and all that. I'm going to do all of those things for you. I'm going to teach you how to walk, how to talk, how to present yourself, how to walk in a room, how to get rid of those negative words, all of that, how to set the table, how to eat properly, all those things, all of those things. But you're also going to get this right here. Also going to get this, because this is the part. This is the real work. How do you find your person if you're used to figuring things out alone? That's a very good question. Think about the people in your life. Okay, think about the people in your life that you have had conversations with, and they haven't gone anywhere. Think about people that you might feel comfortable with. Okay, think it could be your pastor. It could be a big brother in the church. It could be get yourself a mentor, right? Get a mentor. Like I found a mentor. I didn't know this lady at all, right? I found a mentor on LinkedIn. I did not know her, but she did some of the things that I want to do. She's written a book. She started an organization. She has lots of followers. Like she's doing the daggone thing. She is doing it. And I reached out to her. I signed up for one of her programs and I reached out to her and I said, look, you've done that. I want to do that. How did you do that? And will you mentor me? And we talked for a while and it was supposed to be a 15-minute session. We ended up talking for like an hour and she said, sure, I'll mentor you. We clicked. So you have to, sometimes you got to step outside of who you know and go. Sometimes that's best when it's not someone that you know. I have multiple mentors, multiple, and not all of them know me intricately. And I have different mentors for different things. Or you can hire a coach like me and I can be your person, right? I can be your person. For real, for real. Okay. So this is the embodiment stage, the moment you begin walking fully in the healed version of yourself, when you have risen into consciousness. That's your self-awareness. It's up there. And you're intentional. You're intentional. You're able to become that totally unique, authentic version of your healed self and to the man and woman that you were designed and destined to be. We weren't designed and destined to be bogged down with trauma, the symptoms from our trauma. We weren't designed to be like that. We weren't designed to be like that. We weren't. God didn't design us to be jacked up. We can't do his work jacked up. We can't. You can't answer the call fully jacked up because you're not even thinking straight. Okay, let me talk about me. I couldn't answer the call jacked up because I couldn't think straight. I know that's not any of you on here. That's just me, right? I couldn't think straight. Let me tell y'all something. And I have crazy faith. I do. All right. And I grew up in church all of my life. When I tell you I've had seasons when I couldn't get a prayer through, I just couldn't feel. I couldn't get to that state of, and if you know, you know, right? I was so bound internally, emotionally, that I just couldn't get that inner feeling that made me feel like I had that connection. I couldn't get there. I couldn't get there. Anybody else? Or is it just me? Is it just me? I couldn't get there. So you can't do the work that you're called to do, that you were destined to do, that you were ordained to do. You can't do it if you're bound. You can't do it properly. You can do it, okay? But you can't do it the way it should be done. We weren't designed to be trauma bound. When you're wounded, it's impossible to heal others. Girl, Connie said it's real. It's real. I call it Python syndrome. That's what I call it. That's what I went through. I went through seasons, multiple times, of Python syndrome where I couldn't feel, I couldn't think, I wasn't myself. I couldn't sleep right. I was sick and tired of being sick and tired. I didn't give a. Okay. I couldn't pray. I couldn't get into my quiet space. I couldn't hear from God. And what's the first thing I thought? God, where are you? Like, where are you? Why? And it wasn't God. And I know it wasn't. It was me. It was me. It was all Pam. That's a real state. Python syndrome. And it's up to us to do what we need to do to loosen the grip of the python, those negative emotions, that negative emotional loop that we take ourselves on that causes us to behave in those familiar patterns that don't serve us. Somehow miracles happen and God moves us forward. Yeah, but it's not somehow, baby. You got to do the work. Yeah, God does. He does. He does sometimes free us up a little bit. He does. So that we can now open up and go inward and do the work. Donna said, absolutely. Absolutely. Yes, Connie, he does. But that's so you can finish and do the work. And again, remember, inner healing and deliverance is not the same thing. Okay? Because emotions and spirits, inner healing is for your emotions. Deliverance is for the spirits that came out of the emotions. I'm just saying, I'm not trying to tell nobody what to do, how to do it. I'm telling you what worked for me. Inner healing, yes, greatest thing I did for myself. But when I capped it off and went to the altar and put it for real before God and left it there, absolutely. Thank you for clarifying it. Yes, yes. I couldn't do this without God. I couldn't. I could not. I could not. Could not. Could I work on myself and do all those things? Absolutely. But did I still feel like I'm better? I felt better. I felt better, absolutely. But my soul didn't open up until I knew until those spirits were detached, until I had my altar call moments. Then that's when my friend, when I laid at the altar and I had my battle cry and I cried out to the Lord and said, help me. I've done my part. I've done all that I can do, all I know to do. Now I need you to go in and get the rest. That's when that's the ultimate healing. Ultimate, right? The inner work that I did was great. I felt great. I didn't even know I could feel that much better. But baby, let me tell you something. When you add God into the mix, yeah, this is so good to me. When you rise into consciousness with intentionality and your manhood and womanhood, your healed ones start to rise up. This is the embodiment stage, the moment you begin walking fully in the healed version of yourself. Isn't that beautiful? When you begin to recognize that I'm walking in the healed version of myself. Now, what do you start doing? You start making decisions that honor your worth, your purpose, and your emotional truth. Your worth, because that is the truth. Then you're able to make decisions that honor your worth. It's no longer based on the past. It's no longer based on how you used to see yourself, right? It's no longer seeing yourself like that. Now, for me, low self-esteem, low self-confidence, unworthy, unforgiveness, just people can see what happened to me on my face, all those things, right? I have loosed all of those things. I've released them. I've released them. So now I walk in my empowered state, in my worthiness, in my purpose, in my purpose and my emotional truth. I don't live in the past. My emotional truth is about right now. That's why I didn't hang on to that pickup truck thing that came back to me 40 years later of what happened in a pickup truck. That's not happening right now. So I'm not going to make that my emotional truth. Why would I? Because it would come in and totally disrupt all the work that I've done. I don't have the capacity for that. I've worked too hard to become me. When I was jacked up emotionally, I tried college 3 different times and failed all 3 times and had to pay back the money because I got student loans or I didn't drop in enough time. So I ended up with judgments against me because I couldn't think. Hallelujah. Right? That previous statement was a hallelujah moment, right? I could not think. As soon as I started working on me, and my girlfriend told me, Pam, just take one class at a time. Everybody around me, I was encouraging, all of my mentees, people that I was coaching and training, everybody around me, they were getting degrees. I didn't even have a certificate in coaching. I had nothing, but God gave me this gift. This is a natural gift, talent, and ability that God gave me, right? All right, my wholeness. I'm clear. I'm clear. All right. So I lead my life with that clarity. I lead my life with compassion, not just for myself. I give compassion to others as well. Understand when I say I give compassion to myself first, because how can you give something that isn't familiar to you? When I was angry, I was familiar with anger. I gave that away. When I was unhealed, I knew what that was. I gave away all the unhealed emotions. But now that I am healed and I'm whole and I'm emotionally healthy, I'm emotionally mature, I lead in every capacity in my organizations, in my business, with my children, whichever way I'm a leader. With my grandchildren, I lead with clarity. I talk to my granddaughter like I'm talking to you. So any emotional wounds that may try to seep in, she's going to know we started at 3. That she may not get it right now, but one day it'll kick in. She understands, she can rationalize it, she can verbalize it, but she doesn't fully understand because she doesn't have lived experiences really, right? At 5. You have some, because I had them at 5, at 6. I had lived experience at 6. She has some. She doesn't really know how they're going to impact her older. And so I'm trying to train her now how to handle her emotions now and not allow things to cripple her internally now. So you guys can't keep this stuff to yourself. You have to share this information and each one reach one, right? Your circle. You should be sharing this. Why? Because you don't know who needs what. The person that you withhold it from is the very person that may need it, probably more than you. Now, you step into the highest expression of who you were always meant to become. The highest expression, meaning it's not fallacy, it's not falsehood, it's not facade, it's not mask. It is the highest, truest, most authentic expression. There's no representation of your representative showing up in front of you. Why? Because you've shown up in the highest expression of who you are, in your healed self. You guys get that? You show up in the highest expression of your healed self. Okay? Now, reflection questions. And after we do the reflection questions, we are going to be done with today. And I'm going to see you guys tomorrow. All right? Question 1. How would, no, I'm going to say how does my healed self show up today? I'm going to change that because I want it to be in the now. How does my healed self show up today? We have vanquished the ghosts in the nursery. The ghosts that you have vanquished, you have some healing from them, right? It's impacting how you show up. How does your healed self show up today? Question number 2. What decisions align with my purpose and emotional integrity? What decisions align with my purpose and my emotional integrity? We talked a little bit about emotional integrity yesterday. That's doing the right thing because it's the right thing to do for yourself and for other people emotionally, right? So you're not lashing out, you're not reactive, you're not making poor choices because it serves you only or it doesn't serve them. We're not doing that. So what decisions align with my purpose and my emotional integrity? That's a very good question. Very good question. Why? Because that reframes the past and the way you used to make decisions. It reframes that for you. And that's what we're doing. We're reframing and we're choosing how we're going to respond. What decisions align with my purpose and my emotional integrity? My purpose, Marseille, my purpose and my emotional integrity. What decisions align with my purpose and my emotional integrity? Okay. Question number 3. Where am I being called to lead myself more boldly? Now, if that's difficult for you, that's because you haven't gone inward deeper enough yet. Okay, because that comes from your internal self, right? When you're being called to something, that comes from your internal self. in other words, where is your internal compass leading you to be more boldly, to be more bold, right? Where am I being called to lead myself more boldly? What is the tug? Okay, for me, it was this. I knew I was supposed to do this. I was called to do this. I was called to lead myself here to give this away to you. Where am I being called to lead myself more boldly? Where am I being called? Renee, you miscalled. Where am I being called to lead myself more boldly? Where am I being called? What is it? Where is it? What is it that I'm supposed to be doing? I'm supposed to be bringing myself to something. Now let me go here. We all have something that we know we're supposed to be doing. We all have something in us that we're supposed to be birthing out of us. A book, a program, a business, something. We all have something in us that will elevate us to the next level that we're supposed to do that we haven't done. What is that? What is that? Where are you being called to lead yourself more boldly? What is that thing that you know you're supposed to do? Where is that thing? What is that thing? Where is that place? What is that task that you know you're supposed to do and you haven't done it? Why? Fear. Why? Emotionally bound. Why? You may not know how to.